Well, hello there. Guess what? Surprise microphone. AITA for telling my sister her baby isn't a real baby. What? I got engaged to my fiance on January 1st. Mazel tov. I was very excited to share with my family, of course, and everyone congratulated me and my fiance. I sent a picture of my ring to my family group chat as well as my Instagram. I don't have a family group chat. I don't. Why? Because my brother Dylan, and you're watching this, Dylan, aren't you? My brother Dylan has an Android. Yeah, that's right. I'm putting you on blast, Doc. Freaking Samsung guy. Also, my parents are divorced, so I guess that also is a factor. I guess that's also a thing. I sent a picture of my ring to my family group chat as well as my Instagram, and everyone has been commenting on the fact that I got a very big diamond. Ooh. My diamond is a lab-grown diamond that is just under 5 cubic tons. 5 carats, I think, is what that means. And that's big, right? I'm gonna look up 5 carat diamond just so you get the idea. This is a quarter carat. Oh my God. 1/10 of a carat. What is the difference between K and CT? It looks like this. It kind of looks like this. Yeah, 5 carat. Dude, that's huge. That rock is crazy. I specifically asked for a lab diamond, as I believe they're more ethical, as you never know if a mined diamond is a blood diamond. My sister was very excited for me, but as soon as I showed her my ring, her mood changed, and she was telling me that it was too flashy, and that it's not practical, and that it's too trendy, and not timeless. Sounds like a whole lot of jealousy. My ring is a pear-shaped solitaire ring with a marquee band, and I love it. My sister then told me that there was no way that my fiance could afford that ring. True, if it was mine diamond, it would be 10 times the price, and my fiance is a second-year resident. Okay, come on, future doctor, come on. And that I should test to see if it's a real diamond. I replied that since it's a lab diamond, it was a lot less expensive. Which, you know, I know people have their thoughts on this. We've talked about this maybe once before, but I think a lab diamond is fine. I think that's totally fine. It's the exact same molecular makeup. It is the exact same. It's not about where the diamond is sourced from. It's about how it's cut. That's what makes it so unique and special and cool, personally. I don't know. Anyway, moving on from that, I replied that since it's a lab diamond, it was a lot less expensive. She then proceeded to tell me how lab diamonds aren't real diamonds, and since they're made in a lab, it doesn't hold the same sentimental value. My sister's ring is a small 1 carat mined diamond, and it is beautiful. I've never said anything bad about her ring, and it suits her. I tried to laugh it off, and I told her that I asked for a lab diamond and that I don't want a mined diamond. When I said that, she started yelling at me that it wasn't even a real diamond in the first place and that it was grown in a lab, not the ground. Why would she yell at you in response to that? Why would she yell at you for that? She's just, I'm trying to picture this conversation. So okay, so let me get this straight. So you're like, well, you know, it's a lab diamond and it's a proposal. It's a proposal. And then she goes, well, it's not even a real diamond. It's not even real. So she's just being kind of that person. I think I could picture that. I think I could picture a sister be like, it's not even real. You know, hopefully it was just a little tease, even though, you know, whatever, that's sucky behavior. Yeah, dude, what a weird thing to argue about. It's sibling rivalry, dude. You know, that's when I said, by her logic, my niece wasn't a real baby then because she was an IVF baby and grown in a lab too. Ooh, y'all messy? Ooh, girl. You know what she did? She pushed the messy button. You found the thing to say. I'm going to say it. Is it a good thing to say? If you want to keep a good relationship with your sister, probably not. Let's keep reading. My sister and her husband had a lot of issues conceiving as my sister has some I'm laughing, but this is a bad sentence, okay? My sister and her husband had a lot of issues conceiving as my sister had some complications with endometriosis, which is like super painful and shit. So you said a really crazy thing. Oh, God. This is so messy. Their IVF journey was really tough, and they had multiple rounds and attempts and one miscarriage, but finally got lucky and had my very healthy niece last year. They had a miscarriage, and you used this as like ammo to be like, oh, well, if my lab diamond isn't real, then your baby isn't real. Bro, calm down. And welcome back to Rookie Cooking. Today we are cooking my famous apology pot roast for when you total your roommate's car and you're trying to make up for it. This does not make up for it! Daniel, please, let me out of this closet! Now, I'm not a great cook, and all that prep and cleanup gets so exhausting. So we're gonna use Factor, a meal delivery service that sends ready-to-eat meals directly to your door. Factor takes the stress out of meal planning. Skip the grocery shopping, skip the cooking and the cleanup, and get fresh, healthy meals that are ready in just 2 minutes. Their meals are never frozen, and each week you get 35 options to choose from, including calorie Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Vegan, Veggie, and Keto. And their delivery plans are flexible. You can pause or reschedule anytime. I usually feel like I never have time in the day to make food, so I end up spending way too much on takeout that's not even good for me. That's why I love quickly conjuring up a nutritious meal with Factor. And here we go. Just 5 minutes and boom. All right. Daniel, come on out. I can't come out. I'm stuck in the closet.
That sucks, dude, because this slaps.
You can get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box. Just click the link in the description or scan the QR code with your phone. You'd be eating right and you would be supporting my channel. Let me out! Can I get out of here, please? I know my sister had a hard time conceiving. That was kind of the point I was making. My niece started in a lab, but she has beautiful meaning behind her life, too. When I made the comment that my niece wasn't a real baby because she was an IVF baby, my sister started crying over the phone. You said this over the phone? Mess! You said that over the phone, dude? Why? God! No, you are not invited anywhere now. Her husband then called me and berated me and told me I was insensitive and couldn't understand the depths of her emotional turmoil and that I shouldn't have started a fight over a ring. Well, did you start the fight or did she start the fight over the ring? Either way, that was a bit of a below the gut. Yeah, that puts you in a-hole territory a little bit. He even said I was ableist. I have endometriosis too. I think once we got to the miscarriage situation, that is when that this definitely becomes something you don't talk about. Because a miscarriage is like, and this is coming from a guy saying this, so whatever. But my assumption is if you're doing IVF, and you actually get pregnant and then you lose the child, I could assume that being like a earth-shattering, mega frustrating thing versus a ring and having a debate over whether it's like, authentic or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I think these are two different worlds. I don't know if you had that one loaded in the chamber ready to go all this time, but that's a crazy response you did. It's a for the drama of it, crazy response. Are you correct to respond that way? I don't think so now. I think you did the bad. My mom says it's not a big deal, but I should let my sister cool off. I usually babysit my niece pretty often, but my sister hasn't been answering my calls for a week. I wonder why. My fiance says, although I probably shouldn't have said that, I was justified. Well, your fiance has to say that, doesn't he? I didn't mean it seriously. I know my niece is a real baby, and I adore her and spoil her all the time. Am I the a-hole? Here's the thing. Right? You, from your perspective, you have a real niece. The niece is alive. Therefore, you saying, well, that's not real then. And you're gesturing towards a real human being that's obviously real. This is you saying, well, if you're saying this isn't real, then that isn't real. I get it. I get what you're saying. But in the context of your sister's journey, tough. Especially because she was already in a fighting mood. You know what I mean? She's already in a fighting mood. You go, okay, well, this very real child is not real then. I conceptually I understand, but that is so messy. This is my favorite thing I've ever read, I think. I'm going to keep reading. To update, as of this morning, my sister has called me asking for a babysitter. I suspected that this would be why she would call me, as I've been babysitting for free when no one else in our family or brother-in-law's family will. She apologized that her husband called me and cussed me out, but she didn't apologize for her comments. I apologized for what I said as it was insensitive, but explained to her that she misunderstood what I meant. Hopefully that is real. Hopefully it's sincere on both sides. If so, I think you could just let it, let it rock. And to everyone who is confused, I do not think IVF babies are not real babies. Obviously, I was so taken aback that some of you guys read my post and thought that. I said by my sister's own logic, she thinks her baby isn't a real baby because apparently things can't be real if they're grown in a lab to her. Again, it's a bit, there's something different about a diamond and a human child. I don't know. It's just a different emotional attachments here. You know what I mean? Different journeys here. The point I was making was my diamond is real, just like her baby is real. Yeah. We got it. We know what you were. Oh God, you're a mess. You messy. You messy. Let's see what the comments have to say. Everyone sucks here. Sister is the asshole for being so transparently jealous. Yep, we can all agree on that. And you are absolutely the asshole for using your sister's conception issues to try and score points in a sibling argument. Oh, and your mom is also the asshole for thinking that it isn't a big deal. I feel sorry for your dad. I truly do. Okay, so now you're bringing the dad into this? Sounds like you're also a mess. Nah, L-take. Wait a minute. Okay, wait. So this has 18,000 upvotes, and the response has 19,000 upvotes. So there's infighting in the comments. Let's see. L-take, Op wasn't trying to score points. She was illustrating why her sister's logic is foolish and they shouldn't be fighting. It wasn't some random dig to win a squabble. Her sister is trash and decided this was a massive blow to her ego because she wanted to fight and harm Op, but Op had logic and calmness on her side, so her sister didn't affect her. Op is fine, so is the mom. Look, in context, you saying this over the phone is so funny to me and messy. It's so messy and funny. I don't know. I do think you can make a point in things that are less like emotionally weighted. However, it does seem like the sister was literally coming after you for the ring. Should she have come after you for your ring? No, stupid. If she was actually mad about it and she was really trying to convince you, it's not real. That is her problem. She sucks, you know? You hit back. You hit back a lot harder. Let me be real. She brought a knife to a gunfight. You know what I'm saying? You kablooey. Let's see. This person's response is just, I think the important thing here is that you made a point to take your sister's reasoning, aka something in a grown lab that isn't real, and applied it to something else that you both know of. You didn't bring it up out of nothing, and it also doesn't represent your actual thoughts. It's just a far extension of your sister's argument. Your sister started a stupid fight, I think because she's jealous of your ring and felt the need to put you down. Yes, probably. You hit her where it hurts. Not gonna lie, but she set herself up for it. Okay. So a little bit of karmic retribution, it seems, here. I want to say justified a-hole, but as there isn't such an option, I'm gonna go with not the asshole because, hey, your niece did start in a lab. There is nothing wrong with that, and if your sister isn't ready to admit that, perhaps she shouldn't talk shit about things being from a lab. Congrats on the engagement and ring. I'm sure it is beautiful. This is so funny, bro. NTA, you didn't really tell your sister that her baby is not a real baby. You used the comparison as a way to show her how idiotic her arguments were, and you are right. A lot of people seem to be missing this point. The argument is sound. There's like this big thing that is in all the like relationship books. It's like you can either be right or you can be happy, you know? And like, I hate that that's what it is. Hey, you're going to annoy some people, right? But it really is about choosing your battles. You know, I mean, it seems that it ended in some kind of resolution where you guys apologize, and that's great. Hopefully, you've grown from that. She knows not to be weird about your ring anymore. And honestly, if you didn't say it now over the phone, you were probably gonna. If she brought that up again, you were probably gonna use her daughter as an example, which is just terrific. AITA for getting engaged after my brother's wedding. My brother and his now wife got married 3 days ago. Wow, that's really recent. A very small destination ceremony, under 15 people total. My now fiance and I extended our trip after everyone went home and spent a couple of days exploring the Grand Canyon, a couple hours north of the wedding, where he proposed. Okay, hold on. So my now fiance and I extended our trip. So after everyone went home, after the wedding all happened, and spent a couple days exploring the Grand Canyon. Okay, so wedding happened. Couple of days after that, where he proposed. So it's not like he proposed at the wedding. When I shared the news with my brother and now sister-in-law, he responded with hostility, saying that it looked like we were competing. I apologized, quickly realizing that he was advocating for my sister-in-law and that she felt hurt, although I'm truly failing to understand why. I'll tell you why. Because when you have a wedding, a destination wedding, even though it's like a small destination ceremony, it's small, it's quaint. You know, you still want it to feel special. You want it to feel intimate, and you want to bask in it for at least like, I don't know, like a week. Right? You're soaking it up. You're soaking up the nice little wedding for a week, maybe two. She, as the brand new wife, ring on her finger, all that stuff. She's having a jolly good time, and now suddenly she and everyone around are suddenly, full force focused on you. It's an emotional thing. Is it a logical thing? No. Do I think that either of you are, Do I think that anybody's in the wrong here? No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I also texted her a separate apology and explained that it was not our intent to encroach and just wanted to share the news with the family, and that it's my belief that there's room for happiness for everyone. She did not respond. Not a very good sign. In response to my apology, my brother doubled down and said the timing and location were hurtful and that we shouldn't have planned around the wedding. Okay, here's the thing. There was a wedding at the Grand Canyon, or around the Grand Canyon, and then just after that, the proposal was at the Grand Canyon. You know what I'm saying? So, like, let me just say this. I don't think anybody's an a-hole here. Not at all. But what I will say is, like, she wanted it to be a special wedding, like, near the Grand Canyon. It's a nice desert thing, and so now suddenly you're kind of sharing the story of it being, like, at the same place. I don't know, man. I'm just thinking that siblings freaking hate each other's guts at times and will look for a reason to, you know, kind of have a little issue. And this might be one of those situations. Nobody's really a butthole here, but it's not like I don't see where they're coming from. The problem is, like, if you take everybody's feelings into consideration about every decision you'll ever make for the rest of your life, it's like, you know, you just can't please everybody. So that's kind of where it's at. Let's see what people said. NTA, and I can see you're trying valiantly to understand, but I'm not sure your brother or his wife will be able to give you a good reason for their reaction, because their reaction is wild. Sure, it's rude to propose at someone else's wedding, but that's not what happened. The fact that you and your fiance got engaged a few days after their wedding before you flew home is a totally different thing. Also, the level of hostility in that message from your brother is nasty and definitely not normal. I'm so sorry he treats you like that. I think being hostile about this situation is not the move. I don't think, you know, being hostile towards a celebratory thing is setting this new engagement off on the right foot. And also, it's going to make, you know, this person kind of bitter towards that side of the family too. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, oh, you don't like that I'm engaged? I just went to your wedding. I went to your destination wedding, and we loved it so much. We loved the area that we got engaged here. Like, do I get the whole, like, stealing the thunder thing? Conceptually, I can understand it. Is it valid to have an emotional visceral response? No. It could be at most, this is a situation where they're like, you just tried to steal, you know, a little bit of that is funny. Does it actually bother you? Nah, I'm just joshing, you know, as far as this goes. To me, NTA, your brother needs to calm down. The bride gets a day, her one wedding day. She does not get a location, a week, or anything else. She gets her wedding. That is all. You did not encroach. And that, you know, this is the mature response. And it's signified here by 13,000 upvotes on that. It is the mature response. Nobody owns it. And again, you know, if you're trying to please absolutely everybody all the time, you're not going to be able to live. You're just not, okay? Hey, listen. There's probably a situation in your life where you're worried or nervous that you're annoying somebody or you're upsetting somebody. And unless you are directly trying to annoy that person, if you're just living your life trying to be authentic to yourself and that annoys somebody else, bleep this. Hey, you are allowed. Let yourself be slightly inconveniencing to somebody else. Allow that. You got to be cozy with that, because otherwise you're going to be anxious and uncomfortable for the rest of your life. Free yourself from having to please everybody. And in fact, I'm going to reverse that a little bit. I'm going to flip that on its side a little bit. Allow yourself to upset a couple of people, okay? Because not everybody is smart. Not everybody is, what I mean by that is not everybody is going to understand you and your intentions. Not everybody is going to understand that. They will get upset by you, whether it's, you know, somewhat plausible to their life or not. And with that, you just got to let it go. You picking up what I'm putting down? Huh? You know what? Let's pray. How great is our God? Sing with me. How great is our God? I used to be in a church band. I'm not that way anymore. I just think it's funny to pull that out every once in a while. NTA, you were proposed to days after the wedding while exploring the state that the wedding was in, and several hours away from the wedding site. Wait, several hours away from the wedding site? Oh, a couple of hours north of the wedding. Oh, why did I think that it was in the same place? No, yeah. Oh, dude, if you're a couple hours away from the destination, forget what I said. Forget everything I said before. No, you're totally good then. There's no reason they should be upset now. Yeah, no. You're good. I had you all fooled. Because I missed a critical piece of information, but no, I see it now. Yeah. Am I the asshole for making seat swapper cry? I don't know what that means. What is a seat swapper cry? Does it sound like... So I board the plane, settle into my economy plus seat. I don't know, cushy. Woman approaches and asks me to change seats to 32B. so her 9-year-old can sit with her. I ask how much cash she has to repay me for the money I spent on the seat. Yeah, could be $100 or so. She says I'm cruel for leaving her son with anxiety sitting alone. I'm sorry. So you booked a flight with your son in a different part of the plane, and you think that this stranger who owes you nothing is cruel for that? That doesn't make any sense. That's like throwing your kid in front of a moving bus and be like, bus driver, if you hit him, that's cruel. It's like, no, dude, they're just going about their day. You're the one who put the kid in an anxious situation. If this is true, unless you're like being weird. I ask if she offered the person sitting next to her son her seat in Economy Plus. Okay, so this woman is sitting in Economy Plus. She booked her kid a seat all the way back. And now she's trying to swap some other stranger in Economy Plus with her son, who she bought a ticket for in Economy. So she did not pay for 2 Economy Plus seats. She paid for 1, and she's trying to get 2 for the price of 1 and an economy seat. She's trying to save money. That's what this is. She's trying to save money. I asked if she offered the person sitting next to her son her seat in Economy Plus. She said she needed the legroom. I said she clearly cares about her own comfort more than her son's well-being. If she cared, she would give up her seat and move to the back. I mean, that's not false. It's not fun. She's trying to do 2 for the price. It's really, she's trying to save some money here. It's obvious. Just bad planning on her part. I clearly said she cares more about her own comfort than her son's well-being, and if she cared, she would give up her seat and move to the back. She breaks out in a screaming wail filled with how could yous. 10 minutes later, a smiling man sits down next to me grinning about his sweet upgrade. My partner says I'm the asshole for questioning her parenting in public and making her cry. Am I? Questioning her parenting in no, no, I don't think so, because she came to you. She came to a stranger who paid extra for this privilege and asked, would you like to pay extra to downgrade? In this situation, let the flight attendant be your agent. Let the flight attendant do that. Okay? Because the flight attendants are used to asking these kinds of questions. Maybe there's a spare seat somewhere on the plane. Maybe. I'm a big fan of people standing their ground for things that they paid for. Look, honestly, if it were me, I'm so anti-confrontation that I'd probably just be like, yeah, sure. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be stoked about it. And because I'm, a young guy, like I feel like people would ask me first, especially in like first class or Economy Plus. They would certainly come up to me and be like, hey, would you mind swapping? Because I look like just a little boy on the plane. I applaud people who are able to stand their ground. I in these situations don't usually have a backbone, so I would have acquiesced and have felt really crappy about it the whole time. Or maybe I could have just been like, no, sorry, I can't move. I need the leg room too. Like I needed to. The how could yous and stuff is like, what do you think this is? How could you leave them there all alone? You're the one who bought the ticket. You bought the ticket, dude. This ain't me. You're a mess. Not the asshole. She's in the wrong for 1, not being able to plan and book ahead of time so her son isn't left alone. 2, not being able to put aside her comfort ahead of her precious son. And 3, thinking that anyone owes her anything for being a poor planner. That is a big deal. If you're a poor planner and you are rushing other people because of your poor planning, I probably sometimes fall into this category. I'm sorry to my employees. You think people owe you something because you're a poor planner? That's not going to work out. It's not always going to work out for you. When I booked my seat, hers was already taken, so she booked first. Didn't look like poor planning. Looked like she only wanted to pay for 1 premium seat and wanted to guilt me into giving up my seat. Just a scrappy lady. NTA, it is so annoying for people to do this. They don't want to pay for seats, but want people who do pay to give up their seat. I would never, unless it's equal or better value. The last time a man asked me to switch so he could sit with his girlfriend, I got to move 6 rows up, and he brought my bag and put it in the bin for me, even sent me a drink. That's cute. That's cool. I like that. Hey, I vibe with that a little bit. I think swapping seats in that capacity, I think that's totally fair. Not the asshole. If you had done what my brother usually does, if someone asks him to swap seats, then yes, you would have been. He is 6'4", so he always books the exit row so he could get more legroom. Otherwise, his legs get smushed into someone's back. Even on the exit rows, he sometimes is smushed. Dang. 6'4"? Is it? It's like 2 feet of it his upper body and the rest of it's his legs? Jesus. His usual response to anyone that asks him to swap is off. He flies quite often, and he has told me on almost every flight he has taken in recent times, someone has asked him to switch for some stupid reason. He was on a flight back from Fiji yesterday, long flight, I can imagine, and he said some girl asked him to switch. She didn't even get to the reason she wanted before he told her to fuck off. Damn, man, he's out there sniping people. That's crazy. If you're 6'4", you know what I mean? That's too tall to be on a tin can in the sky, you know? All right, let's move on. AITA for declining to fix the errors I made in a blanket I crocheted for someone and taking it back instead. So you crocheted a blanket for somebody and they said, hey, there were some errors in here. Can you fix that? And then you're like, no, you. I want it. Let's read. I made a blanket for my sister-in-law, Amanda. I was able to give it to her last weekend. She'd asked for it in certain colors. I didn't have any other projects on my to-do list, so I was happy to make it for her. I had most of the colors already too, so it worked out. All right. Gift? Question mark? Is it a gift or is she commissioning you? That's my question. Either way, very sweet. When I gave it to her, she was so excited and she started to look it over. I figured it was to see how it was put together since she doesn't crochet. And after a little bit, she said that she loved the blanket, but she couldn't help but notice some of the little mistakes I'd made along the way. Ugh, I don't like that. I asked her what she meant and she pointed out some things like I'd accidentally done one row of striping instead of 3 for one section. I'd switched to the wrong color and threw off a pattern at some point, etc. What? Does she literally have OCD or something? I would never notice one row of striping versus 3. That's so strange. That is so weird. Oh man, what a dick. What a mean thing to do. She handed it back to me and told me that she loves my progress with it and couldn't wait to see the finished product. Damn. That feels like a doctor receives a baby. Like imagine you just gave a baby and the doctor's like, oh, it's almost finished. We're just gonna put that back in there. Like that's so mean. I told her that it was finished. She looked down at it and said that it wasn't done until it was perfect and I'd made several mistakes that I could easily go back to correct. What? It's not done until it's perfect? Is it a commission or no? That's my question. And even in a commission, I don't know. This, Jesus. How rude. I was honestly dumbfounded by this. I hate the way perfectionists try to force their quirk onto others. I made this blanket for her for free, out of my own free time, because I love her. Okay. I told her that. She said she knows and she loves me for it, but that she wouldn't be able to use it because she wouldn't be able to focus on anything but the mistakes. Yo, she has a problem. And I don't mean that like, tee-hee, she has a problem. I think our girl here got a problem. I think she for real has like a problem. Needs to go to a doctor because that feels like a little bit of OCD. I am not a licensed professional. I know nothing, but it feels a little bit. She's either really mean or she's got OCD or something. What a shitty thing to say to somebody giving you a handmade gift. And also, if it's not for free. It's not for free because she paid for the materials to make it. She paid, meaning this crafts person here paid for the yarn or whatever to make this blanket. So she's down like I don't know how much yarn costs, to be honest. Say $10-$20 depending on the type of yarn. I don't know, and the time that went into it and the love and all that. What a gross person. I said whatever and took the blanket back and said that if she doesn't want it, I'll keep it. She looked surprised and said that she does want it. She just wants my best work and not something half-assed. Oh God, that's like singing your heart out for somebody, like singing a song you wrote for your partner and then they're like, yeah, you were a little flat halfway. Are you that level of like detached from reality and people's intentions that you're willing to ruin a relationship over that? Stop. You can either be happy or you can be right. You know what I'm saying? Jeez. It's okay to be wrong a little bit sometimes. It is okay to live a life and live your truth and annoy other people sometimes. But however, this person, if her living her truth is being a jerk, then, you're going to annoy people and alienate yourself. I guess you just got to kind of weigh these opportunities in life. Do I choose to be a pedantic jerk or do I choose to let it go? Interesting thing to point out here. There's 23,000 upvotes and 2.3 thousand comments. 2323. Huh? Isn't that neat? I told her that if she thinks me crocheting a whole f***ing blanket and making minimal errors is half-assing it, I'd rather just keep the blanket. She's so upset with me and told me I was acting ridiculous and that it wouldn't take me long to fix it. If you know anything about crochet, you know that I made an error on row 36 of a 1,115 row blanket. That is essentially starting over again. Okay, so does that mean you'd have to go back all the way to the top and redo it all the way through? I'm curious. I know some of you out there crochet. Let me know. Let me know what that means. Anyway, I come to you all, LOL, AITA. I don't think so. I think that is so incredibly rude of that person. What an entitled jerk. Look, man, if I'm painting somebody as a gift, right? Let's say I'm painting somebody and I'm painting a portrait of like my stepmom, right? Let's say that. And I give it to her and she's like, "Oh, this is beautiful, honey. Could you made my neck really small. You literally drew a line. Can you flesh that out a little bit?" I'd be like, "You know what, Ma? Sure." That doesn't mean I have to redo the whole painting and start from scratch. That's what this person is. That's just me thickening something out. Or, "Could you sign it?" "Sure, I'll sign it." I don't know. But I don't know a lot about painting. I don't know anything about painting. Maybe that even is crazy. So there's a difference between one quick little adjustment and this. This seems like it says she has to start all over again. That sucks. You aren't being ridiculous. She definitely was super NTA. What she might be missing is that there is no fixing an error like you described in crochet. You either start over or pull out the stitches back to the point of error to resume from there. Okay, so you would have had to have just like back to row 36 of 1,000 rows. She couldn't be a gracious recipient of a heartfelt, thoughtful, homemade gift, and that shows you something about her. If she requires perfection, that's pretty incompatible with homemade, not to mention super dismissive and presumptuous of her not to prioritize the hard work and hours that went into making it. Hours and hours and hours. People who crochet, dude, I was on a flight recently. As I was on a flight back from Arizona, I was sitting in the airplane and I saw this light. Somebody had their reading light behind me and it cast this crazy shadow on the seat in front of me. And it was a woman crocheting. And it just looked like daggers and spaghetti, and shadow puppetry of daggers and spaghetti behind me. And she did that the whole flight. This person, crocheting people really be doing it. Y'all find places to do that all the time. I imagine there's a woman out there who was crocheting while she was giving birth. I imagine that. And I imagine that there was a man out there who was crocheting in the hallway while his wife was giving birth. I guarantee at some point in human history that has happened. People who crochet, mad respect. Given that she's a member of your family and you probably don't want a long-term rift, I would hold my ground but try to diffuse it. Just explain repeatedly if necessary that it's too bad your gift didn't work out, but no hard feelings. Do not feel forced to start again or to fix the blanket in any way. Try not to create drama or judgment over her for it. Believe me, her response to this whole thing stands alone. And don't offer to make her anything in the future, that's for sure. NTA. I'm with you 100% until no hard feelings. If what you mean is that Ops should drop the issue, not engage, and not speak about the incident, I agree. But if you really mean no hard feelings, I think that is bad advice. It is so important to set standards and to value your own well-being. Ops should remember that this sister-in-law treated her very badly and she should minimize contact. She should not say a word about it, even if the sister-in-law asks why she doesn't see her as often, but she should stay away. Life is much too short to spend it with unkind, disrespectful people. I agree, but there's a lot of times where you can't control where you gotta be. I don't know if they babysit each other's kids or something. I don't know if they, I don't know. I don't know what the dynamic is. I don't know how often you meet up for like family dinners or holidays or whatever. What a turd sandwich of a situation. Agreed and not the asshole. This is someone who will not be good with any handmade gift. Give her a store-bought blanket. Yeah, they got them in stores for cheap. Give her nothing ever again. The nerve, the audacity, and very much NTA. I love this person. I love you, Mo and Co. Yeah, this is crazy, bro. This is so. I would hate that so much. You give somebody a handmade gift that took you hours. Like, come on, dude. Folks, before I let you go, I just want you to remember, you can't please everybody all the time. You just can't. But if you were to choose to upset somebody, make sure they're not always in your vicinity. You know what I'm saying? Pro tip. Outro.